Can Penn State win it all in 2025? And what must Franklin do to maximize his odds of winning Penn State their first title in the 21st century? That's the question that Nick P., an Indiana fan, asked me in my Discord server. So I want to answer it on here on YouTube. If you can do me a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment whether you think Penn State can/will win it all in 2025, and any suggestions you'd have for James Franklin. You know, James Franklin being a head coach of one of the biggest businesses and biggest brands in the sport of college football and in sports in general, I think knows a thing or two, or maybe 10 or 100 things, or 200, more than we do. But still, a suggestion for the fun of it in the comments would be incredible. And join my Discord server and ask me a question in the hashtag YouTube mailbox section via the link in the description or pinned comment. That's where you can join the Discord server. Do that, and I'll try and make a video out of your questions. But Nick P. asked whether Penn State can win it all or not, and what must Franklin do to make sure that that has the best possibility of occurring, of Penn State winning a natty. So Penn State finished 13-3 last year, 8-1. They were second in the Big Ten, had an opportunity to win the Big Ten by playing in their first Big Ten championship game since 2016 when they won the conference, and since then it's been Franklin's only Big Ten championship. I think that with all they're bringing back, with Drew Allar, with Nicholas Singleton, with even a guy like Khalil Dinkins and Luke Reynolds, who are behind Tyler Warren but should be pretty awesome tight ends, with who they bring in, with Trevor Pena, Kyron Hudson, Devontae Ross, and what they return in the offensive line, whether it's due to injuries, players wanting to win a title, or just what they've developed there, I think this will be Penn State's best offense in the Franklin era. And then with what they have on defense, bringing back Zane Durant, Dani-Dennis Sutton, Zariah Fisher, who had some injuries last year, Ty Blanding, Alonzo Ford Jr., Caleb Artis, I think, is a player who could emerge this year. They bring back Rojas and DeLuca at linebacker and bring in Amari Campbell, one of the better linebackers in the ACC last year at North Carolina. Zakee Wheatley is a safety I'm high on, and I think Dejon Lane will be good. And then A.J. Harris has gotten some projections to be the next Penn State corner taken on day one or day two of the NFL, currently mocked as a first-rounder. And then Elliott Washington and Davion Collins, Zion Tracy, who played a little bit at corner, Tracy at nickel, started there for much of the year. They come back. Same with kicker Ryan Barker, punter Riley Thompson, main return specialist Nicholas Singleton. They bring back much of their two-deep. They do lose some production, hefty amounts of production, Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter, but they return a lot of their two-deep, many of their starters, and they upgraded at staff by hiring Jim Knowles, retaining Kotelnicki, Jajon Cedar, left for Notre Dame, and I think they upgraded there, or at least retained Cedar's level of excellence by hiring Stan Drayton, former Temple head football coach and former Ohio State and Texas running back coach. Coached Bijan Robinson and Ezekiel Elliott, and developed them both as well, and recruited both of them too. So there's that, and I think honestly the world of Penn State's current staff, their roster. I think it is the best roster in the Big Ten. When I reveal my all Big Ten teams and give you guys my prediction for Penn State and their schedule, with how I've been critical of Franklin in the past and still am critical of his game management, you'd be shocked at how high I am on them. I mean, I think they're the deepest team in America right now, I think. What Franklin can do and what he must do to maximize the success of this team is to leave game management in form of play calling or in the form of just being controlling. Leave that and dealing with his anxiety to Andy Kotelnicki and Jim Knowles, who I think are the best in their respective fields, or for Kotelnicki, certainly top 5. Knowles is unanimously the best DC in the country. Anyone who tells you otherwise, whether it's someone who thinks that Matt Patricia will be better at Ohio State, whether someone thinks it's going to be Wink Martindale will be better at Michigan, or they think that Pete Kwiatkowski is a better DC, or they think that I would even go so far to say that Glenn Schumann, if they think that, or Lynn, they are doing drugs. It's not true. He's the best DC in the country right now, and it's not even close. He is as valuable as a DC as many head coaches are head coaches, which is crazy given how much more responsibility head coaches have and how many of them still completely manage or control one side of the ball, like Brent Venables at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley at USC. Ryan Day used to do that with the offense and still has the capability of doing so, and I think is closer, more so to that side of the football than the defense, because that's his area of expertise. And we could go on and on and on with naming those coaches. Or Steve Sarkisian with Texas, for example. What Franklin has to do is let those coaches ball. Let them be in their rooms. Let them scheme. Let them execute and coach on the field. Of course, you got to be a CEO. Got to step in and make changes when necessary. But I feel like Franklin sometimes gets too much of a tight grip around his coaches and players. There's a little bit too much of uneasiness or nervousness or emotion in big games. Against Oregon and Ohio State, for example, early on, Penn State had critical penalties that sapped their momentum and set them back. That stuff has to end. The culture, while I think one of the best in the Big Ten and one of the best nationally, still can't afford to take steps forward. It, in truth, is the little things that Franklin needs to do to maximize Penn State's opportunity to win it all. The team is in a good spot. The program is in a good spot. But those little things sometimes can be hard. They can be simple. They can be complex, but they are certainly hard. And I think better game management, whatever that means, and making sure that your team is disciplined and prepared for all things, especially in big games, and letting some of your coordinators, who are some of the most intelligent people in the business, do their thing, letting that staff you've built, which I think is the best staff in America, work, I think that will yield good fruit and produce fantastic results. So to answer your question, Nick P., Penn State can win it all in 2025. In fact, I am picking them to win it all in 2025. What Franklin has to do is he has to delegate responsibility properly, stay out of management in big games, and let his coordinators cook, let his assistants cook, and he has to, I think the best thing that he can do is just emphasize, hey, we can't have penalties in big games. We can't have quarters or halves where we are dead. We can't fall behind. He has to emphasize the little things, the attention to detail at Penn State. Tackling, for example. Tackle better. It's been a weakness of Penn State's defensive backfield for as long as I can remember. Tackle better. Don't have stupid penalties, unsportsmanlikes or major penalties, especially at the beginning of games. Don't do it. Those little things will produce impressive and necessary dividends to then push Penn State from going 13-3 and losing to Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame in one-score games to going 16-0 and beating all of those teams either in a one-score game or maybe one or two of them or heck all three of them by double digits. That could be the difference between a team that once again is memed into oblivion as a team that fell short and wasn't all that good, even though I think Penn State last year was a top 5 team for sure. And it can also be the difference in Penn State being remembered as one of the best teams in recent memory, not just for 2025, but for the entirety of the 2020s, which would be pretty impressive given the previous Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia teams, and also Alabama team in 2020 that have come before it.